cactus and succulent growers. In today's video, this is going to be a little bit of an inspection video of my Echinopsis haematantha, also known as Libivia haematantha. And this is one of my sort of rather unusual shaped growing cactus plants that sort of comes under the Echinopsis group because it has gorgeous flowers, lovely orangey flowers in the spring and summertime. And I've had this for quite a number of years, this particular cactus. Now, the reason why I've got this out here, and I want to give it a bit of an inspection, is not because it's tied up with a cane. The reason why I've done this is because it's one of them cacti that sort of leans a little bit over, and I've done this for support. It's because I sort of noticed that when I was in the polytunnel the other day going through the plants, and I like to check them regularly, this one is one I actually pulled out because it sort of feels, when I'm touching this now, and I do go around and touch the plants, give them a little squeeze to check they're not going rotten or anything like that, this feels a little bit squashy. Now, this particular type of Echinopsis stroke Libivia is one that does have a bit of a spongy, it does go a little bit spongy during the winter months because as it uses its water reserves up, it would have that little sort of spongy feel. So not too concerned about that, and it's natural for it to go a little bit thinner as it does use up its water reserves. What's concerned me is that it's sort of going a little bit of a strange colour. Now, this is nothing to do with our new polytunnel because this one was actually going a bit of a strange colour during the summer. I noticed it's a little bit sort of light coloured green, and then the tip here, as you can see, is much darker green, and also the little offsets that are sort of growing here are also dark green at the end and pale sort of lime green here, and it's growing sort of quite thinnish looking. Now, this is different to etoliation, where cactus plants are stretched out. And the reason why I know it's not stretched out is this particular type of cactus does grow like that. And also the fact that, for example, when you look close with a cactus plant, these are little what they call areoles, where the spines come out of and where flowers emerge from, and buds and flowers. And you'll know if it's meant to be growing like that or if it's stretched out by these areoles with the spines. But if they're stretched out, there's a spine there and another areole up there and it's all stretched out, but they're very tight, close together, so that's not a problem. And when I got this cactus, that was sort of the size of it, a big fatty one, and it's sort of grown, but it does look a bit of a strange colour. And although it's meant to be a little bit spongy, I'm still concerned about it. I want to get it out of the pot, check over its roots to check that there's nothing going on with it, just to be on the safe side. And these are actually buds that started to form last summer, and they're still on. It's not going to flower now, so I'm going to be taking these off. I've got tweezers to remove them, and it's just good to give this a bit of an inspection just to check it's okay. If it's okay, I can just pot it back up again. I won't be potting this into a bigger pot or anything like that. It should be okay. Just want to check over the roots that there's nothing going on with it. I've checked over the plant body, and there's no signs of beasts like mealybug or anything like that. So it's pretty pest free. In fact, it is pest free. And as I mentioned, I've got this stick on here to support it. And if you've got any cactus plants that are sort of wobbly, leaning over, and you want to give them a bit of support, well, there's two things you can do. The first one would be you can actually cut a cactus back in the spring, and then it will pop out around the top as well, and it keeps it more compact. But I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to cut it back, and I've just let it grow like that. The next thing you can do is actually support it with a cane, which is what I've done. And I actually did make a video at the time when I did this and how to support a leaning cactus. And do check out that video, which I'll put up above, and do watch that after this video if you want to know what to do to support your cactus if it's sort of leaning over to the side and you want to support it. So I'm going to first of all get this out the pot. These two offsets here, they're meant to be like that. They're like little arms. Hello. Crazy, I know. And there's even little offsets coming off on this as well. So I'm just going to give this a check over. I'm pretty sure it's okay. And this little bit of a pale lime green colour, well, I think it's going to really green up once the spring arrives and it get back into the summer again. But I'm going to give this a bit of a quick check over. Obviously the base looks pretty good, that's hard, no problem there. I'm just going to turn it out, take it out of its pot, and double check there's no signs of beasties or anything that can be causing a bit of a lime green appearance. So always best to check if your plants are looking a little bit off colour, a little bit sickly, to be on the safe side. First thing I'm going to do though is remove these flowers, because it's not going to flower now. I sort of left it over the wind. See, they're gone. And I'm going to be doing a little video on the cactus and succulent plant jobs to do at this time of year. It's really cold now at the moment here in Ireland and the UK. So even though I have a heater in the polytunnel set at 5 Celsius, it's still too cold to go in there and spend too much time doing things. So I'm doing a lot of plant jobs in the house at the moment. There you go, that's off. So that's done. There's another little flower here. Flower bud, I should say. So that's not going to flower. And then it's leaving it, by removing them any old flower heads that are not going to flower now, it means then it's leaving it open to form flowers for this spring. So then let's get this big fella out of its pot and check it over. I'm going to keep this cane sort of on to support it a little bit here. Turn it out of its pot, give the little pot a squeeze. Oh, rightio, look at that. So, that's very interesting. I'm just going to take this there. And well, the roots don't look great anyway, if there's any roots at all. Look at that. Now that is the big tuber there, which is good because that's not rotten. That's pretty fresh. But there's very little roots, and you can see here, that is actually full of, sort of full of the old roots there. So this has a problem with the roots. I'm glad I've got this out. But the good news is it's not rotting. I'll just pull this back so you can see a little bit better there and turn that here. There we go. Now, as you can see, that's the tuberous root system there. And a lot of all these fine roots have just rotted, come away. But it's not rot as such. It's not gone into the tuber. But it's got a very poor root system, which would explain why it was going yellow in the summertime. I'm sort of pleased that there's something wrong with it, because I knew there was something wrong and I couldn't quite understand why. I have actually made a video on why is your cactus going yellow. And one of the things I mentioned in that video is that a lot of it can be down to the root system. If it's going yellow, it's not taking up its nutrients to produce chlorophyll properly, the plant food. And this is a perfect example when there's a problem with the roots. And if you've got a cactus that's going yellow, then also watch that video too if you haven't done. I'll link that video up above. Do go ahead and watch that after this video. But it's a perfect example now that it has gone. The roots it's not rotten. It hasn't rotten. It's just that it's got a poor root system. So, I'm in surgery. I'm going to just gently loosen this old soil off. I mean, it's soil I've used, which is sort of well draining. So as I say, it's not rotten. I think the roots are just weak. And it's good that I'm just going to be able to pot this up. I'm going to pot it up into fresh cactus soil and then leave it. I won't be repotting. I'm going to actually put it into a much smaller pot than that, because although this pot was okay at the time, but obviously it's lost a lot of its roots. And this sometimes happens, you know. So I'm going to pot it up into a very gritty cactus mix and just keep it totally dry until the spring, when I'll slowly introduce a little bit more water. So here we go. Now the good news is here, look, you can see there's a bit of a fresh root there. That's very fresh. I don't know whether you can see there. It's a fresh one. And I don't want to take too much soil around. I don't want to do any damage. But this is okay. I'll just turn it round on the side here so I can see. Now there's no pests or nothing like that, no root mealybugs, and it's got a great tuberous, lovely tuberous root. So fine roots will re-emerge from this in the springtime here. So I'm just going to check that. Yeah, no problem. Almost looks like how a potato tuber would look. Well, happy days, no bugs or anything like that. So it's just a case of, I'm going to mix up some soil now, cactus soil, and then get a smaller pot and then start potting it up. Now I've got the new soil mix made up, and what I've done here, I've made 3 equal parts of John Innes number 2, which is a loam based soil. I've used a brand by Clover, mixed with equal parts of grit and sand, and a little bit of pumice thrown in as well. So it's very well draining. And if you want to know how to make a basic cactus and succulent soil, then do check out a video I've made on how to make cactus and succulent soil in 3 easy steps. Links to that video will also be up above, and check that out after you've watched this one. So obviously the biggest problem I'm going to have here is because this is top heavy, it's not going to support. I can't put it in a big pot. I don't have any clay pots, otherwise that would have been even better for a bit of support. But this pot is enough for its roots, because I don't want to over pot it, because it's just got the tube and a few fine roots coming through. So once this is potted up, I'll then have this to support it, and I'll probably put it back into the polytunnel and rest it against one of the tables, so it's getting plenty of light and just resting for the rest of the winter now. So here we go. Little bit of soil in the bottom, and then I've still got this cane, so I'm going to keep that like that. Then pushing this very carefully into there, and obviously this stick has to go in as well for support, so that has to go in first. Very carefully putting that in, just turning it around to make sure that the cane is in and also the support is there, and its tuber is in the middle, which it is. And I'm going to very carefully put the soil around the edges there. And as I say, I'm using dry soil as well, because if you use wet soil at this time of year, especially when a plant that's having to rebuild its root system back, it's not ideal in this time of year in the winter time. And even if I was doing this in the middle of summer, I would still keep it dry for at least a week to 10 days to let the root system settle down. But this is going to be just resting now for the rest of the winter, and then probably from April onwards, when the weather starts to warm up, I'll introduce a wee bit of water just to get it to root. It should naturally sort of try and send out roots anyway once the longer days are here and the weather starts warming up a bit. But it's a good job I checked, because it wasn't rotting, but the roots had died back. It had a poor root system. And cacti in general do not have big long root systems, because they store their water in their bodies. But if they're struggling, if the roots are not good, then they'll also still struggle to take up water. So I'm glad I checked this out. So it was a little sort of a rescue. If I'd have left this, it would have carried on probably getting skinnier. So, and it started to come into bud last year, but that's not the reason why it didn't bloom in the end. Wasn't because of it needing to be checked over and repotted. It was because we had a lovely dew and it was very sunny, and a lot of my cacti, especially the Echinopsis, produced beautiful loads of buds, and they're all coming into bloom. And then July, August was very wet and miserable, and that encouraged a lot of the buds to just sit there or drop off. Quite common. Hopefully we'll have a better summer this year, and with the new clear polytunnel I've got, it should really help also for budding and blooming. So there we go, all done. Just want to make sure that the soil is, tap it, just to tap to make sure soil goes down the side, and very gently push down there so it's supported. So happy days. That should recover really well now and green up then over the next few months. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Do check out all of the other videos I've got on my YouTube channel on how to care for and grow many different types of cacti and succulents. And I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.